All right, we are preparing to stream live on YouTube for the very first time. I'm gonna hit record also. Record to the cloud. Woohoo! We are live, Chris. We live. Preparing to stream live on YouTube for the very first time. Hold on, wait. Let me just mute this. I'm gonna hit record also.
Make sure we have to do full intros, by the way.
Okay. I'm gonna send you a link. I want you to just see if it works on your end. And I want to see if you hear like a double echo or anything.
Okay. Make sure we have to do full intros, by the way.
Okay. I'm gonna send you a link.
So I don't hear full echoes. You need to change your name to Mr. Reward as well. Comma quotes, Mr. Reward. You heard me?
Yeah. Okay, so it seems like YouTube is slower than Zoom, so it's like a little lag there.
I mean, that's good. We can't cut it. We can't cut off that old part and then start anew with the stream.
Pretty sure we could. But I'm gonna go live on the IG now. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. I am trying to fix the battery.
All right.
on my thing. But I am on Grantanswers and I am gonna look for you.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
Should be good.
All right. Go live. Checking connection. You are now live. Welcome everybody to episode 3 Risk Reward Show. I am your host, Derrick, aka Mr. Reward. We are waiting for Mr. Risk to hop on.
I'm gonna need a minute actually. I gotta fix the audio for the IG live.
Okay. So he's coming on soon. Everybody, hold on. We have a very, very good show coming up. We got lots of things to talk about. Just to kind of give you all a breakdown of what the show is going to be. First, we're going to start out with our weekly rewind, talking about some topics that Cris and I found to be interesting for this week. Then we're going to head into the main topic, which would be, let me just get the proper title, but I like the title that Cris came up with. But basically, should you be staying in a big city for your career? A lot of people have been asking that or been thinking that, especially now with everything that's happening with COVID. You have a lot of people that are leaving big cities, moving to smaller, to the countryside. Okay, we have Cris who just joined. Your request. Go live. All right, here he comes. Woo, 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 woo. Connecting. There he go.
That's what we do. We connect.
What's going on, Cris? How you living?
I'm doing all right. Just want to make sure the audio is right. We're working out some technical difficulties that we've had in our pilot episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to hopefully this one as the most flawless one that we have.
It definitely will be. So to kick it off, we're going to do intros once more. Cris, I want you to get started, then I'll just follow up, and then we'll take us into our show.
Sure. So good evening, everybody. And I say good evening because we're based out of the East Coast. So my name is Cris Mercado, aka Mr. Risk. And we have our co-host here, Mr. Derrick Stroman, aka Mr. Reward.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're really doing here at the Risk Reward Show is to help you all find the upside, whether it's in your career, your business ventures, or even your personal life. I'll start with my personal intro. So first, my name is Cris Mercado. I am an award-winning social entrepreneur. I scale social impact via strategy, data, and product as founder and CEO of Grantanswers. Outside of that, I'm heavily involved in immigrant rights advocacy. My work and my immigrant story has led me to features and op-eds in Time, Forbes, and NBC News. As far as the nickname Mr. Risk, it actually fits my personality. I like to assess the risk before I jump in on anything so that I can limit the downside and I can just focus on the rewards and the upside. I'll share a little bit more about my background. So I may not have been born here, but I call Hollis, Queens in New York City my hometown. My second hometown would actually be Harlem because that's where I have lived and that's where I went to school. Ironically, the same school as Derrick.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say that I have spent 5 years in doctoral study in criminal justice. So in a past life, I was an academic. Now I'm focused mostly on entrepreneurship and the workforce development and education spaces, particularly when it pertains to diversifying technology and all of its various intersections. And that's actually how we met, Derrick and I, and started to plan out this vision that we had for a media venture. So with that, I will toss it to the Brooklyn-born Derrick Stroman, aka Mr. Reward.
Hey, thank you so much. That's a hard act to follow, but thank you everybody. We want to welcome you to our show. As Cris just mentioned, I'm Mr. Reward. Basically, just giving you all of the upside for any decision that you do have, whether it be for your business, your career, life choices, investing, all of that. Little bit of some background story like about me. Like Cris mentioned, I am Brooklyn born and raised. Me and Cris had the honor to go to City College. Go Beavers. I've spent my career in human resources. A lot of my time has been, building out those talent pipelines for companies. I worked for nonprofits, for-profits, globally, nationally. So my HR experience kind of, goes across the a gamut there. A lot of my time is just, bringing people that look like me into the jobs that I work in. A lot of the jobs that I worked in, I've been the only person of color there. And, just being the only person there, like, it's not a very comfortable feeling. So the power that I had in human resources was to basically go out to different schools, especially CUNY schools, and form those relationships with those schools and bring in the talent that looked like me. Happy to say that I've in every place that I've worked at, I've been able to build out that a pipeline, which has been very, very helpful. Like Cris just mentioned before, very heavily involved in the workforce development space. Last year, was it last year? I think it was last year. I had the chance to attend this program called the NIATEP, where I had a chance to, talk to a lot of, the council members, senators, and assembly members to really push the workforce agenda out there to make sure that the government is given the money that's needed to make sure that, people like us can have chances to, these high paying jobs. So I'm pretty sure I'll be dropping some more nuggets about me as the show goes on, but that's the overall synopsis about me.
We need more nuggets. We need to put some sauce on these nuggets.
Yeah.
because I want everybody to know out there, we're not just like shooting the breeze. We
No.
are about impact. The way that Derrick has helped, startups and nonprofits scale their business models has been amazing to see. I have spent a career, an early part of my career, helping hundreds of predominantly Black and Latino high school students go on to college and earn close to 2 million in scholarships and grants. And then I moved on to helping train, gosh, what is it, like over 600 emerging technologists,
Ooh, talk about
predominantly
it.
Black and brown folks. And I do this through my company, Grantanswers, on a business to business level, but it brings me to these individual spaces and connections with such amazing talent who Derrick knows as well and interfaces with them as well. And we're bringing this perspective to you. So this isn't just us talking about things that we're interested in. We're about this life. We have the track record. We had the receipts to prove it. So I hope you all benefit from some of the nuggets that we'll share with you.
Nuggets and gems and everything.
With the sauce.
Dope. So let's move into our first segment of the evening, Cris. Weekly rewind. On our what we spoke about earlier was one, the loan forgiveness of $50,000. What's your take on it? Because I have something to say about it.
I think you should go first before I anger some people.
Anger? Okay, cool. Me myself, I'm calling BS. Lots of BS. I feel like this has been a time where a lot of us have been more involved in the politics, and I feel like regardless of who's in office, we need to hold that person accountable. Basically, Biden said he's going to run on getting rid of $50,000 worth of the student debt. However, I mean, full disclosure, I have no debt. Went to a CUNY. My debt was paid off very, very early, so I don't have the same, I guess, like hurt that a lot of people have. But I do know people who are struggling because of this debt. And for him to, I think he had a town hall last Tuesday. And literally someone asked him, so what are you going to do about this debt? He said, I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to do $10,000. I call BS on that. His reason for only doing $10,000 was because he felt it was going to, benefit a lot of those who went to Ivy League schools. First and foremost, who cares what school you went to? Everybody has debt. I think debt should and I feel like the student loan debt is like $1.7 trillion, which is crazy. It is the only debt that you cannot get rid of. Like that it stays with you for life. Bankruptcy, whatever, if you have any liens on your house or anything like that, you can get rid of it. But student loan sticks with you. So for him to kind of lead with, I'm going to get rid of $50,000, knowing that a bunch of people are going to be like, yes, $50,000. Hell yeah. And then he comes back and says, ooh, sorry, only 10. Yeah. I mean, the only good thing that has happened with COVID in regards to student loans is the fact that if for anybody who's making payments, they got rid of the interest rates, which I think is good. So all of your money is going towards that the principal. But for him to say 50,000 and then flip the script to 10,000, I think we all need to be on top, on his back, saying, no, you said 50, so we want 50. So that's how I feel about it. I think he's just spewing just some BS right now. It should be 50. He said 50. 50 would help so many people, I think. Hiddu can take it from here.
You called him out, so that was that was the reason why I wanted you to start. Now I have to take the other side of this, which is the unpopular side. And I'll make this really clear. There should be student loan forgiveness. The economic value of forgiving loans would be tremendous. However, there's a few things we should take into account. So first of all, the folks that have accrued the most debt have tended to be those who are middle and upper class. So theoretically, they would be most able to handle that debt over the course of their lifetimes. And I also want to frame this in like under the lens of economic inequality. I tend to look out for folks who are most low income because that's how I grew up. That is the work that I find most purposeful to me. And a lot of the talent that we have seen, Derrick, never made it all the way through college. Not because they weren't smart enough, simply because they were too poor. Right? And that's where I have to take a more nuanced take on this. So when I heard 50K on the campaign trail, I was like, that's a lot. I'm actually not surprised that it got scaled back. I do think it should have never been proposed or pitched as a 50K loan forgiveness.
Yeah.
So again, to bring it home, if we forgave 50K for everyone, you're actually going to benefit the upper middle class more than you would the like lower income families. So I would suggest that we forgive the loans that are, let's say, 10, 15K in range of people who actually never finished college because they don't get the value of that degree that they went in for originally. They don't have that credential to then go back into the labor market and work off that debt. Which brings me to another point. What do you say to your friends, your family members who worked diligently for the past 5, 7, maybe even 10 years to pay off of all of their debt? And then suddenly, like, oh, there's this law that just came into effect. And if, like, just a matter of a few months, you didn't qualify to benefit from this new law, like, what do you tell them that they paid off 100K, but their friend no longer has to pay 50K? How should they feel about that? Do you have any empathy for them? So I totally understand, like, listen, 50K has handcuffed what I can do in this country. It has handcuffed my potential. It has handcuffed my ability to raise a family, start a family. And getting rid of this debt would have tremendous economic value. We just have to understand, okay, is it going to make economic inequality worse? And I would like to think that people are very concerned about addressing economic inequality. And two, where's the sense of fairness? If we talk about justice all the time and fairness, is this fair? So what is that? Where's that? How do we thread this needle, right? And what I would propose is, let's get rid of, and I saw someone on IG mentioned, 20, 25K. I'm still on board with that. But I think the folks that first need student debt relief are the ones who never got that credential. So let's work on that first. And chances are they're gonna tend to be lower income to like middle class folks. And in general, that's who I look out for.
So Cris 2024?
No, I can't. For many reasons, I cannot.
I'm
Also,
joking.
again, this isn't a popular opinion. I have friends who I have debated, and I like, and there's also this issue of I really wish there was a lot more like information and training of folks even before high school. Some of these schools shouldn't even exist. There's most of the debt comes from going to for-profit colleges. So first, let's attack those so that they're out of the way, right? There's only a few that are actually beneficial in terms of participation in the labor market. So let's address that. And then the college counselor to student ratio throughout this country, it varies by state. It's all horrendous. It's like hundreds to one. In some states, it's like multiple thousands to one.
Yeah.
If there was more support on that level, then we would be able to guide these talented students to make smarter decisions that minimize the risk so that they can find the upside in their college careers without, accruing all that debt.
I'm loving the plug. One thing I will say that Biden did say during his town hall was that he is for having the community colleges be free for anybody who makes, or any family that makes under, I think, 125K. So that I'm on board for. I think the local colleges should be free with the money that they're printing. I feel like they should be able to pay for it. So hopefully something happens like pretty soon.
100% on board with that. It actually parallels some of the benefits of applying to these brand name schools with large endowments.
Yeah.
So if you go to some of the Ivy Leagues, and if your parents don't meet a certain income threshold, it's not just free tuition. Sometimes you get free tuition, room and board and fees. So I like that part of the proposal. I'm just not so sure that a blanket 50K student loan forgiveness is actually beneficial to everyone as a whole.
We shall see. Before we get into the main topic, I wanted to get your take on this rover landing on Mars. How do you feel about that? Do you think we're going to be leaving Earth soon? What's up?
So I'm going to let the rich folks test that out first. Right. So they funded it. Richard Branson is going to be one of the first. Elon, I don't know if he's doing it. He should.
Going to Mars?
Yeah, I mean he put his money.
Yeah.
Like these folks put their money where the mouths are. So now put your body where your mouths are, and go do it. They'll probably be on like the third or fourth like safety test. That's fine. I'll wait. I can wait. Right. Yeah. I got time. We're still pretty young.
Yeah.
So I got time. All I know is that I think this is superb for like supercharging a love for science.
Yeah.
This is what I want to see. I grew up playing with Legos, wanting to be an engineer. If not for immigration status, I would have gone to NYU for chemical engineering and material science.
Oh, wow.
So I like this stuff is still like it still captures my attention all the time. Just the possibilities are limitless. I want more folks in STEM, and we are involved in a lot of STEM related work. So I love like what this does. I will say though that when you take into account how many billions of dollars were put into this, I sometimes think about, well, what could that money have been used for? So I think of opportunity cost, because I am Mr. Risk. So for those of you who don't know what opportunity cost is, it's an economics term. When you make a decision, it's not that the time and the resources that go into making that decision. It's also what you lose out on the other choices you could have made with that time and resources and other resources. So I kind of feel like these billions of dollars might be good for, let's say, solving economic inequality, or maybe helping out with climate change instead of finding a totally different planet and
another climate
to live on. So again, that's the risk side of it, and that's my job as Mr. Risk.
I find it to be fascinating. I think the fact that humans are moving to different planets, and the fact that it only took 7 months for the rover to actually get there, like I'm like, only 7 months. But I hear with what you're saying in terms of the money could have been spent on a billion other things, I'm pretty sure, to help like what's going on now. But I do like the fact that we are investing in our future. I'm really just waiting until the rover picks up a picture of like a transformer, and then that's when, things are going to go south. But until then, we shall see. Funny thing enough, I was, just researching all of the pictures, and they have like a SoundCloud with like the wind sounds of like the sound of wind on Mars. So I found that to be cool. But it's just good to know that we're exploring what's out there, because nobody knows what's out there.
I think it's also a reminder of how insignificant we are.
Yeah.
In the scope of the entire universe.
Yeah.
Yet how impactful we can be, even though in the grand totality of things, we're just the speck.
Like for real. That's so true. All right, let's put a cap on that. For the weekly rewind next week, we're definitely going to come up with some more stories. I'm pretty sure. This world is never a dull moment here. Want to move on to our next topic. Next topic is, let me just pull it up. Big cities for big careers. Are you leaving or are you staying? Thanks, Steph. Have your conversation on Clubhouse. We are definitely thinking about it.
I'm thinking about it. I've got a couple of invites. I am not sure if I'll join that, but Derrick has a good way of convincing me. So
dope. So going back to starting your career in a big city, are you going to leave or stay? Speaking to you before, I know we have very different like POVs on this. You want to take a stab at it first?
So let's set the context, right? We're in New York City. It really doesn't get bigger than this. So that's our perspective, and that's maybe our biases, right? So living in New York and growing up in New York probably colors our biases. I have lived in a small town. I have done enough traveling in the country to get a feel of smaller cities. So I have some perspective on this. And I'll go straight to the risk of staying in a big city. New York is expensive.
Yes.
Even in the pandemic, I'm scheduled to pay close to $2,500 for rent pretty soon. And I see that painful look on your face, Derrick.
Yeah, man.
Right? Yes, it hurts me all the time. It's why I have some ramen noodles in the cupboard still, and I'm not in college anymore. These dollar pizzas are coming in clutch in New York City. So if you stay, it's going to be expensive forever. And that forces you to make sure you have a reliable stream of income. And that can be a lot of pressure. But there are also risks to leaving, right? So one, and I'm speaking mainly for like young professionals who want to elevate in their careers, if you take a look at where the big businesses keep their headquarters, right, it's going to be big cities or middle-sized cities. So you can name them pretty easily if you go across the United States. And where these headquarters arise, you will find tech hubs. You will find, it's no accident, you'll also find large college and university centers. So in case you didn't know this, big companies, startups, they like cheap talent. They see colleges and universities as pipelines for cheap talent. So you're talented, but since you're fresh out of school or still in school sometimes, they don't have to pay you as much, right?
That's a fact.
And that is why they're there. So it's no accident you'll see tech hubs right by college and university centers. So keep that in mind and use that for leverage as you go into your career. But when you leave, just know that you are risking losing that infrastructure to help speed up your career. I still 100% recommend folks to go into some of these big name companies, get that on your resumes. It's no accident on LinkedIn that you'll see on people's profile headlines, you'll see X Google, X Amazon. And nowhere else do you brag about your exes. No other place, right? So that's fine. It's part of your resume. So you want to brag about that, that's cool. But these big companies, they're in big cities. So that's one thing to consider. Also, relationships are really based on, excuse me, let me backtrack. Your career ascendance is going to be based on relationships. So I want you to think about the relationships that you have with folks and see how much proximity and how close you are to people physically has helped your career. I'm pretty sure that we've had coffee chats in person, and that might have led to some wonderful opportunities that you might not have if you are just doing everything remotely and virtually. So I know we enjoy the freedom of doing things remotely and virtually, but I'm an in-person person, and that's also a bias that I have. Some of my most meaningful relationships, personal and professional, have been fostered because of that in-person contact.
Okay. All right. I do agree with you on a couple of things. With regards to the cost of living, I feel like something a lot of people don't realize is that the cost of living in New York is very different from any other city or town or state. So let's say, for instance, if you're working at Google here, you could probably be making like 120. But if you move to like Utah, that 120 is going to go down to like 70. So it hasn't happened yet. I haven't heard like a lot of buzz around it, but I know a bunch of companies are going to start to slash people's salaries like pretty soon. Once this like remote work life kind of like normalizes, they're like, oh, you're where? Oh, no, like we're not paying you that much. Sorry, not happening. Going back to the original point, like, should you leave or stay? I like you gave great context before. Like, we are here, we have been here. Me myself, I've been here my entire life. I feel like I'm at the point where I'm not tired of the city, but I can take a break from it. So I don't mind going away to some place where it's quiet. I have a yard, I have a pool. But also it really depends on what the professional wants, as well as where are they at in their, career journey. I think if you're just starting out, I think you should be in the city because you need to be around. You need to you need to know like what's happening. And when you're in like that, I guess like that moment of calmness, when you're like when you leave the big city, like a bunch of people leave the big city when they're ready to have families because nobody wants to be like around that 24/7. So if you're at the point of your career where you are thinking about settling down and like having a family, leaving the city would be your best move. It's way too expensive to raise children, as well as, have everything else here when, the prices in other, states are very, very different. So me personally, I'm at that point where I want to kind of just like settle down and have children. So I'm thinking about leaving the city that I'm in. However, I don't want to be too far from it. I still want to be able to kind of travel here, like just in case, because like you just said, we thrive off like that person to person. I can't like this whole COVID like lockdown has made me crazy. I need to see people. I need to talk to people. I need to hug people and just like say hello, like how are you, and like just like touch people's faces and stuff like that. So I enjoy that person to person, and I know I won't get as much of that if I were to go to like a smaller town. So for me personally, I'm gonna live not too far from the city, but I'm still going to be in like I guess like that the suburb area. However, I feel like now with the remote work, I think with the remote work, I guess life that's happening, a lot of people are getting it kind of confused. I feel like it's more work to work remote than it is to work in person. Because when you're remote, like you don't have like you have to be on top of your own work, and I feel like people get lost in like I have freedom to do this and do that, but at the same time, like you have to stay on top of yourself. Like the fact that you can't see the person that you're working with, you still have to kind of know like, okay, I got to follow up with this person, I got to talk to that person. So for me personally, working remotely has kind of strengthened like those skills, like those I guess like those project the management skills, just because you have to be on top of that stuff. But going back to my original point, it really depends on you and where you're at in your career. If you're, just starting out, like Cris mentioned, companies are in these cities where there's schools there, things are happening. So you should be there to kind of get that jump start. However, once you kind of go through those motions and you kind of get a feel of like what it's like, you get settled and all that, it's up to you if you want to stay there. Just know that the cost of living will be crazy. However, the countryside is waiting for you. I'd rather have my green grass and my pool sitting on the porch. But that's just how I like really feel about it. But honestly and truthfully, I can't wait till companies start to say like, "Oh, you're not living in the city. We're going to slash that salary of yours." I think that's going to be like a wave of people like, no. Like, and that's when everybody's going to come back. Everybody's going to come back. Everybody's coming back.
I can see that. So again, for young professionals, go to a big city, live it up, stay there, like make that career ascension. Mm-hmm. For those who are entering their mid-career phase, totally understand if you want to slow down a little bit.
All right. So I take it that you're staying in the city, Cris?
At least for the next, let's say, 2 years. I'm enjoying my pool. It may not be in the backyard; it's at the rooftop.
Okay, excuse me.
But I think, I still have family to tend to. Mm-hmm. I have what I feel is unfinished business in terms of the impact that I want to make with emerging professionals. There's still more here to do. Yeah. And there's a couple of media projects that I'm exploring.
Okay.
And New York's a good place to work on that. Maybe LA. I see you, Miami. I always got love for Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Maybe Texas once they fix their infrastructure and electric grid. So maybe like, Austin or Dallas. I hear nice things.
Yeah, Texas had a 75-degree day, so that's wild. They went from literally freezing to 75 degrees.
Even below freezing. That's nuts.
Yeah.
I hope everybody in Texas. We hope everybody in Texas has sort of recovered, and we have a couple of friends who are down there. And being in immigrant rights a bit, I've met more than a few folks who are in Texas, and I hope they're doing well, and I hope they don't have to pay those thousands and tens of thousands in electricity bills because that's unfair to them.
Yeah, I was reading something, and some people's bills are like $23,000. I was like, wow, that's nah, fight that. The government
That's why I
can
call
take
for
that citizen.
blanket forgiveness.
Yeah. Forgive that. Hell yeah.
Forgive all of it for everybody. I'm totally cool with that.
There you go. There you go. All right. So we kind of wrapped up on our main topic here, whether you should stay in the big city or leave it. Cris is more on the side of, depending on, I feel like we are feeling like the same way, depending where you're at, should really determine that move. But if you do have any additional questions on like how to do like salary research within these big cities, we can definitely help out. Any questions about where these big, these tech hubs are happening, we can definitely help out with that, with the research that we've done and what we're seeing. So do not hesitate to reach out and ask. Now, Cris, we are heading to our last part of the show. What's the right move for right now? What are you thinking?
So I'll go with the companies that you've identified as like your target companies. Make your move there. Like wherever they have their headquarters, like go where they are.
Okay. I have two. My first one, just to kind of piggyback off what you said or what I said earlier, become more self-aware of like yourself. Know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are, because then you'll have a sense of where you would fit in, like depending on you want to live in like the big city or the countryside or just any place that's not the city. Really notice what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you prefer to do. I think would be like the best first start. However, my second one would be buy Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
They just hit 58K.
Yeah, it took a dip today, right?
It's fine. It's going back up.
Buy Bitcoin.
It's going back up.
So if time allows, right? Can I throw in one other one that has been on my mind?
Sure.
And I'll probably do a fuller video of this.
Mm-hmm.
But there is another right move right now that I have for both corporations and individuals. So first, context. I hope that our viewers and all of the folks out there have been aware of the hate crimes against Asian folks across the country, particularly elderly Asian folks. I actually haven't seen as much, I guess, visibility or outrage from non-Asian folks in my circle. And I've had a hard time processing how I feel about both the crimes themselves and the reactions towards them. So first, the folks being attacked look like my parents. And that hits home in a very personal way. When I see the elderly Asian men being attacked, that reminds me of my father. I saw the video of the lady in Flushing, Queens, who was attacked. And that reminds me of my disabled mom. So what I'm seeing here is, from a macro level perspective, I see a racial ethnic group that is often perceived as weak being picked on. In addition, I see an age demographic that is often perceived as weak being picked on at the same time. And then I see the reactions of corporations. There were two on my LinkedIn feed that were of note. So I saw Viacom CBS come out with a strong statement, and I saw Peloton come out with a strong statement, right? So kudos to them. I also saw a few professionals who were not Asian denounce the hate crimes. And then I see the hashtags Stop Asian Hate, Stop AAPI Hate. That's fair. That's also defense. I'm asking folks, where's your offense? Because those hashtags and the outrage that comes from it, I'm not sure it's aggressive enough to start fixing some of the underlying issues here, where, again, the ethnic and racial group as a whole is often perceived as either invisible or weak. And honestly, in this society, if you're not visible, it's going to be attached to weakness or a lack of strength. So I think the most assertive way that folks should be thinking about this is not from a place of tolerance and getting along, but rather a forward-looking, assertive stance to show Asian folks, Pacific Islander folks in a place of strength. For example, Viacom CBS or other streaming platforms, other media companies. How many Asian leads do you have in your shows? I'm pretty sure it doesn't even come close to matching the proportion of Asians and Pacific Islanders in the general US population. I'll also point out that there's a business case here because Asians are the largest, are the fastest growing racial ethnic group in the US. So there's a business case here, even if you don't want to prioritize the moral and ethical case. I'll also sort of take into account the reactions of folks in my network. So again, when I mentioned impact earlier, I've worked mostly with Black and Latino folks throughout my career, partly because that's where I grew up. Like I grew up in the neighborhoods that were predominantly Black. I went to a school that was very much Hispanic Latino. Like you know what City College is like, Derrick?
Mm-hmm. Uptown, baby.
That's right. Right by the Heights. So, like I was drawn in to those communities because of where my parents moved me, and then ultimately what school I chose. And I grew to love the sense of purpose I had in helping them either go to college or helping folks in these communities start their careers. I have not received any messages from any former students or even current students that I've been working with individually that have asked me about what's been going on with the Asian hate crimes. And I actually don't take it very personally because I gave you all the context. If we're invisible, we're not going to be top of mind. What I do want to folks to be more cognizant of is how aware they are of these situations and how they can like amplify what's been going on so that we can put we can humanize Asians and Pacific Islanders in a much stronger light. So for me, it's not about just being seen. Asian folks deserve to be highlighted. They deserve to be shown off, and they deserve to shine. And when we put those kind of opportunities in front for folks like me to shine, we'll all do better. This isn't this is all in addition to celebrating all the Black folks you should be celebrating on Black History Month. This is in addition to celebrating all of the women you should be celebrating next month for Women's History Month. You need to be celebrating the Asian folks in your life, putting them into a position of strength, and hopefully America will see folks like me as strong as the strong humans that we are. So I know this wasn't part of kind of like the original show notes we had, Derrick, but it has been like on my mind a lot. And thanks for giving me the time to speak on it.
This is our platform. Use it however you want to. One thing I will say is going back to your original point about how companies put out these these posts. Me personally, I think that's one of the laziest things that companies could do. So what I'm gonna, I'm really gonna lean on you to let me know what I could do to be more, I guess, on the offense in terms of making voices heard, as well as bringing strength to the Asian community. So if there's anything that I can do besides putting up a post, let me know and I'll do my part.
I appreciate that. And again, you've been a strong ally. We've actually talked about this issue in preparation for some of the pilot episodes, and I appreciate you giving me the space for it. I'll give a quick example of Peloton with the strong statement. It was a compelling statement. Some of the most powerful users of that, within my friend group, are Asians and Pacific Islanders. And I don't see Asian instructors being highlighted a whole lot by Peloton. They exist. They're out there. They're qualified, right? And in the same way, these media companies, again, media really controls culture. And they have the power to make this change. They just have to put, they need to be courageous enough to take on some risk that maybe the people that we put in the leads are folks that look like me. Mm-hmm. I don't mind being a lead in a music video. That's fine. Right? But little things like this, we simply don't see it, and it, we're never put in a position of strength. So how would America view us as strong? But I'm here to tell you that we are strong, and if you all keep this up, America, we're gonna come up with a few clever ways that you may not like to show you our strength.
Talk about it. Let's do it, Cris. Let's do it. I'm here. I have your back. So whatever you need me to do or whatever plans you have, just let me know and we'll get it done. Like I said, we have a platform now. Let's use it to our best ability.
Thank you.
All right. So before we go, we do have a couple of questions. These questions I like because they do involve sports. Well, one of them does. Forgive me if I'm saying his last name wrong, but Fernando
Tatis
Jr.
Yes.
Just signed a 14-year, $340 million contract with the San Diego Padres.
A lot of Bitcoin, Derrick.
So, how do you feel about that contract? What's your take on it?
First of all, I used to be into baseball a lot more. I have baseball cards, I have basketball cards. I remember his dad. So Junior's dad, Fernando Tatis, had the biggest biceps I've ever seen on a human being.
Was he roided up?
I will not comment on that. I do not have evidence to state that that is the case. But the biggest biceps I have ever seen. I believe he hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning. Yeah. So, man, those biceps were just unreal. I was like, how is that humanly possible? But to bring it back to all this money, look, baseball needs a star. He's like rule breaking. He breaks the norms. He's good looking. Like he's an excellent talent. He's everything that a franchise would want. And I can understand why he would get what I think is like the 3rd largest. I think Mike Trout and Bryce Harper have larger contracts. But to lock him up, I think he's 22. To lock him up till he's 36 is a bold move. But when I think about it in the long term, he might actually be underpaid.
Underpaid?
So, underpaid, right? And I know the guaranteed money is amazing. But when you take into account, and again, I'm assuming that the Padres will be World Series contenders for the next several years while he's there. So when you take into account this recovery from the pandemic, baseball making changes to appeal to a younger demographic, and the trajectory of like what's going on here and like contracts, I think towards the end of this contract, assuming he's not injured, he's had back problems, but assuming he's not injured, I'm gonna make the case here that this will actually be a slight bargain.
Okay.
So come at me, 14 years from now. Hold me to that. We talk about that.
Me personally, baseball. Honestly, I only watch baseball when it's playoff time. That's the only time that I can really watch baseball. Besides that, I can't. Like I just can't. However, the baseball contracts I believe are some of the best contracts that are out there because a lot of the money is guaranteed compared to other sports. Football, you don't get a lot that's guaranteed. Now you have a lot of players in football that are trying to push for more guaranteed money. Basketball, the contracts aren't for as long, but people do get paid. So, but I think this is a good move for him. I mean, I've never seen him play at all. I've only heard good things about him and like seen like highlights and all that. But I'm praying he does well. He's stuck there for 14 years. So, and he's guaranteed $340 million. So, all kudos to him. To Tatis, I'm going to be watching you now because I'm going to see if you're worth that $344 million.
I just saw him in the Gatorade Bull 24 commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take into account who else is there, Serena is in those commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Dame Lillard, who's my favorite.
Dame Dollar. The clutch
is in those commercials. So Fernando Tatis Jr. is ascending to super elite status, and I think this contract validates that. And again, assuming no serious injuries over the course of the life of the contract, this will be a bargain for the San Diego Padres.
Okay. We shall see. I'm giving you 14 years. This long bet. All right. The next question. Ooh, I like this one. We had someone ask, who is winning the streaming wars? Dun, 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 dun.
So you definitely have to go first here because I don't stream as much as I would like.
Oh, well, when it comes to the streaming wars, well, first and foremost, what I do hate is the fact that every company or every media company is coming out with their own streaming platform. It's literally, I feel like what's going to happen is you're going to have everybody that's going to have their streaming platform, and then you're going to have another company pop up and put those all onto their platform, which is going to be like cable all over again. I swear that is going to happen. However, when it comes to the streaming wars, you have to look at the amount of users, who's putting out the best type of content. Those are like the two like main things. I do think Disney is winning. Disney has done an amazing job with Marvel. Like I was watching the Avengers the other day, and just knowing that they took like years, a decade to build this story up, and there's still more. WandaVision is on right now. I can't stop watching it. I mean, it's not like a main. I mean, she is like a main character, but it's not like a main story. But the fact that every side show relates to like the bigger picture, I like. But Disney is, gathering with users like nonstop. They're gathering up the Star Wars people, Pixar, so they're getting all of those cartoons. I do think they do have some competition with HBO Max though. The fact that HBO Max is releasing movies now, I think that's going to be like a big because they're putting out everything now. But I know that's not a good I guess a good for the directors who are actually making these movies. They won't make as much as they would compared to if it was in like the actual theater. So I know they have been beefing nonstop ever since HBO has said that, but I do think Disney will win the streaming wars because I believe in the mouse.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want to bet against the mouse.
You never do.
So first, before I answer this, I just read that in New York, starting in March, 25% capacity at movie theaters.
Ooh, is this an AMC buy?
Date night, movie date night is coming back. In-person movie date night is coming back. This is definitely not an AMC buy. I did my YOLO trade in AMC, made a few thousand out of it, and
that's it.
Never again. Right? It's too much headache for the reward. Too much risk for the reward.
Yeah.
I will piggyback off of your HBO Max point. So one, I'm not sure people know this, but do you know who owns HBO Max?
Who?
AT&T. So AT&T had a series of acquisitions like DirecTV that were, going into this media play. And I love the fact that the content on HBO Max is stellar. The HBO Max Tiger documentary is riveting. It's unparalleled. And I think my favorite content is on HBO Max. I'm actually hoping that AT&T spins off like Warner Media, which has HBO Max, so that it'll unlock value for like shareholders. And then that brings me to like when we talk about value and shareholders, what Netflix has done to absolutely dominate. And I have, gone to Netflix HQ in Silicon Valley, Los Gatos, California. I've even taken some students that I've trained and some common friends that we've had, Derrick, over there for a hackathon. And what they built out in terms of culture, in terms of organization has been amazing. I remember hearing from Reed Hastings, Netflix's CEO. I'm not sure if you were there on the call, Derrick, but just hearing from him directly about what Netflix is doing and its plans, its focus on superior content is truly like amazing to hear. Reed, by the way, was very generous in donating to one of the orgs that Derrick and I serve. And I actually wrote the thank you email to read. So I have a bit of affinity for Netflix. Their
Mhm.
content has been great. Their no ad model has been wonderful. Their ex-US or outside of the US growth in subscriptions has been, remarkable. I think India is going to be like a big market
Yep, that's
that,
next.
yeah, that will really, help support Netflix's revenue growth and this march towards like profitability. So HBO Max and Netflix, those are my two faves in the streaming wars.
You touched on something earlier. When it comes to I guess the HR at the Netflix, like how they build their culture from the HR standpoint is amazing. I've used a lot of what like practices that they use for a lot of the clients that I have. So basically starting from the bottom and making sure that everybody is like within those rooms, everybody has a voice. They do a great job with their human resources. Like that's what I need. I need to find out who runs their HR, because whoever is doing that is doing an awesome job there.
I used to integrate, I still do, integrate their notorious, I think it's from 2009, their culture deck,
Yep.
and
Hmm.
the focus on stunning colleagues and like the fact that there is no such thing as like junior or senior at Netflix.
Hmm.
You're either good enough or you're not. That is how I am.
Hmm.
That is how I want companies to be. So I advise a startup or two. And that's the kind of culture that I want. It may not be the culture for everyone. And times have changed a bit. So they have softened the language from that culture deck. But its ethos is still there.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That. Yeah. I mean, I had no idea it was in like '09, but I still use it to this day for certain things. Just to give you a heads up, the IG live did end. I think it ended at the hour mark,
But the
but
YouTube lives on.
the YouTube lives on. However, it does. So, with that being said, we will be sharing the link to our YouTube. We want you to view, share, subscribe. It's funny, like as many YouTube videos as I do watch, it's funny to like that's ingrained in my head. Share, watch, and subscribe.
Start hitting that subscribe button, share. We are going to provide more opportunities to share, again, these nuggets for you. And hopefully you all find the upside in what we talk about.
That's all we're about, helping you find your upside, minimize those risks. Cris is definitely going to take my dreams and kind of tell me to slow down at times, which I'm very, very grateful of. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to you poking holes in my theories. So with that being said, any last words that you have for the audience, Cris?
Listen to Derrick when he says buy Bitcoin.
Buy Bitcoin. It's never too late.
Also, like Asians, my fellow Asians, Pacific Islanders, we are strong. We deserve to shine. We deserve to be shown off.
There you go. Strong words to end on, Cris. Everybody, thank you again for watching. We will be back with another enticing episode for you, minimizing those risks and finding your upside in your career and professional lifestyle. Well, lives.
See y'all next time.
All right. Let's see how this is. So let's stop this one.